Welcome to another video. This time we are going to be ranking Destiny 2 dungeons in order from easiest to hardest. Let's remember rankings are subjective and my ranking may not be the same as yours. That is okay. Please let me know if you disagree or agree on anything in the comments. Also, this video is mainly going to be focusing on their solo flawless difficulty, but keep in mind I will still be thinking about their difficulty in general. So let's start off with what I think is the easiest dungeon. This is the Pit of Heresy dungeon, and I know people say Shattered is easier, but let me give you a rebuttal. The parkour. The jumping in Shattered Throne is way harder, you don't get rally banners, and you need to watch out for your ammo reserves. Pit of Heresy is rather just a patrol zone of a public private event into a ring around the rosy, and the only hard part about it is the Chamber of Suffering if you don't know what you're doing. You could use any semi-decent ad clear loadout and you'll be just fine though. People forget the acolytes can throw grenades, and other than that, just kill the boomers and this is another patrol zone. As far as the wizard search section, just jump around. You don't have to skate every jump, and this is the easiest transition in the game. Now the final boss is another joke. It has literally 3 million HP and the easiest orb dunking mechanic of all time, and this is one of the 3 bosses that are an easy solo one phase. For those reasons, Pit of Heresy is the easiest dungeon in the game. Next up is Epileptic Seizure Warning 101 or Gotham. Colorblind mode. If you have less than 100 brightness you can't see any. Okay, you get the point. But this dungeon is awful for one reason. I can't see shit. Other than that, the opening is to kill 5 enemies in a mini boss that dies to a Fatebringer clip, run around and do it a few more times. And then the parkour sections. This is pretty much the only reason it ranks higher than Pit for me. If you mess up even a little bit while skating, you are dead. As well as this, if you swap to a skate loadout and then swap back, you will then lose the ammo for the next boss fight until you swap and kill ads elsewhere. Once you kill the ogre boss though, I will agree, this is insanely easy platforming besides this one slim thick wall, but honestly the ogre boss kind of beams itself. Once the ads are dead, the entire boss is dead with one Nova, Golden Gun, or Thunder Crash, but the ads kind of hurt. This is the same thing for the final boss. It dies in one shot to literally anything. The 3x damage multiplier is just insane. I am glad we have this dungeon though. It's a fun damage time and it's relatively easy to get a quick pinnacle. Real quick before we move on, if you do enjoy it, please subscribe. It's free and shows me you enjoyed the content. If you want a special shout out, you can become a member down below. It's not needed, but it's greatly appreciated. Also, finish this video and let me know what you think of my list in the comments. And now back to the video. So on to number 3. This may be a hot take, but it's Grasp of Avarice. Okay, listen. The Spire section isn't that hard if you know the pathing, and every 10 engrams you get your abilities and super back. If you aren't abusing this, it's kind of your own fault here. There are so many ways you can beat these bosses and you have basically an infinite super. The bosses don't have that much health, especially with their power creep, and the transition servitor phase is not the least bit threatening. The ogre boss is probably the hardest since he beams you the whole time, but if you kill him, the final boss is actually just can you kill the Shanken Vandal without using a super that resets every 10 engrams. If the answer to that is yes, then congrats, you 2 to 3 phase the boss depending on if you use Lord of Wolves or Queen Breakers. At the time of recording this, those 2 weapons, that is what the meta is, so future haters don't even bother commenting. So now is Prophecy. Let's run through it real quick. Average first boss, Sparrow section, infinite cube room that takes me hours, yet somehow people say you could finish it in 1 turn, Rainbow Road, and then a simple final boss as long as you move around and use the surroundings for cover. But hang on now. Let's go back to that first boss. If you are not prepared and ready for this first room, it is a hell introduction to the dungeon. You have to evade all the little rat ad scions while avoiding getting booped off, and you have boomer knights sniping you out of the sky as you try to do the intended mechanic. The boss's DPS phase is also super annoying. Bro holds up his shield and then spawns in Vex that shield him even more halfway through. Basically, you need to hit a flick shot to get all of the full phase in. Back to the boss room though, you get smoked if you are not prepared to use whatever map you get on, and you have to be able to move constantly. Also, for solos, a lot of people forget about the ogres that spawn after you dunk, and after this, the DPS phase is pretty lenient as long as you kill the hobgobs quickly and have a jump button on. It's fairly simple. Up next is Spire of the Watcher, and Spire is here for many reasons, so let's break it down real quick. The entrance encounter violates you, dude. This might be the hardest one. The Cyclops respawn, and the buttons are so far that unless you have them memorized, it might as well be wraps for you. So after this long drawn out transition before the Harpy boss, it's not that bad, but then the Harpy boss is so long. Also, when soloing, DPS isn't too bad, but shooting all the eyes is very annoying to be honest. After this is the long drawn out die to electricity at the last stop. Sorry, I've died here a lot before. And then the boss is kind of chaotic. Once you get into a flow with it, it's not too bad, but the supplicants, boss following you, and trying to figure out wires, it gets pretty rough, especially on solo runs. DPS is also a burden on this boss. He is a tiny crit spot in the middle middle of his stomach, and it's so small, and the boss does not hesitate to use his Choir of One to one-tap you with that exotic of choice. Besides that, it isn't too bad, I guess. I say that questionably because I had an alright time doing it. I should have died 7 times, but I honestly bailed out more than anything. However, I did not look out on Duality. Duality is kind of hard for me to place. Ultimately, I do think it's slightly harder than Spire due to the Nightmare Realm timer, the ad intensity, and the bosses. The Nightmare Realm had cool parts of it, but Garon alone is rather rough. It's just a lot of micromanaging, and the hardest is the Nightmare timer, balancing that with ads, Bellkeepers, and DPS. Also, let me just say real quick, Bellkeepers are the most annoying and most forgettable ads in the entire game. So let's block an entire mechanic because of them, and then forget about them as they move around. Bungie definitely knew what they were doing with this, but when this dungeon came out, it was way harder. With our power creep now, we can breeze through Garon and Vault. Keitel is still a bit of a challenge. The ad density goes crazy and the bells are rough, but she is booking it for those bells. And once again, you gotta kill the Bellkeepers. The DPS is really nice though. Kill snipers and do whatever. I think Duality is one of the best boss DPS phases in the game, but honestly, everything else is kind of the hard part. There's just so much more micromanaging than Spire. It's just a little bit higher up on this list for me. So up next is the Winter Wonder, the Warlord's Ruin. The first boss is Lord of Wolves spam Storm's Keep or Geomag moment and then kill the Exploding Scorn and its free DPS. He staggers every 2 seconds and misses a lot more than he should. After this, the traversal is easy, not having to kill a single ad, and the Ogre is just another Lord of Wolves and takes some time in between both phases during DPS and waiting for totems. For the actual boss fight, this is the first final boss fight in my Soul of Flawless journey where I felt like I had to truly dial it in. Previously, I could read chat and mess around a little bit, but this time, I had to stay locked in, and you actually need to plan out and know what you're going to run for this boss. A slow build, a burst build, ad clear, or a little bit of both. And may I add, it's even more micromanaging. You have totems, the boss himself, scions, and you have to play tag with the Scorch dudes. But as you progress, the final DPS stands as the third platform. Genuinely, as a solo, it gets rough here. Like sometimes you even have to leave DPS phase early to not die and just get on with it. After that, it's a simple rinse and repeat, really. So up next, this one is a bit contradictory, but as of now, I'm gonna say it's Ghost of the Sleep. Ghost is so long and sluggish that the entrance encounter is just way too long. The traversal's also way too long. If you don't know exactly where you're going after the entrance encounter, low-key, you could die in the traversal. At Ekthar, the ad density is vile. You need a build specifically catered to this. And yes, Prismatic does make it easier, but still, a lot of survivability is needed here. The underwater section is BS, having to memorize the runes, and if Ekthar catches up to you, you're probably gonna die. You need to kill knights, ogres, and wizards while living the never-ending ads, and the boss has a shield. Not like a wizard solar shield or anything, no, like a 500,000 health shield that you need to strip from him to do any damage. It is insane, and to maximize DPS, you need to loadout swap for it. This is the same thing with the final boss, but before the boss, you have to do another marathon to run through a death trap. These traversals are just so unnecessary, but upon finally reaching the boss, you need to watch out, kill Maz, kill Vorluck in 3 symbol spots, and then go kill a Titan, Hunter, and Warlock, with the chance of getting one clipped by the boss when grabbing Deep Sight to dunk. After this, you get to do DPS with another shield and a boss that is constantly moving. This boss has a 4 phase as of recording this due to particle reconstruction, but without linears being meta, I can see how this boss fight is probably hell. Now let's talk about why I have Sundered 1 higher, and the reason is Lockset. Lockset without the proper build and advanced knowledge of the mechanics is just awful. If you do it the intended way, it's probably wraps for you, and to me, Lockset is the hardest encounter in any dungeon. I just hate it that much. But for Ghost, yes, you need to be locked in the whole hour-and-a-half solo flawless, but Sundered, you need advanced knowledge of the mechanics, and you need to be locked in for the whole time of one encounter. At least in Ghost, you get some breaks in the underwater sections, but Lockset, you get no break. Not even during DPS. But Sundered Doctrine first encounter is fine. It's a good entrance, not too hard. I'd say a little bit lengthy, but not as bad as Ghost. The transition phases, though, are a bit unnecessary. I know it's supposed to be an introduction to the next encounter, but do we really need what feels like an extra mini encounter? The boss, I mean, it's a boss for sure, but honestly, I think the other bosses are harder than this one. It's chill and just simply run around, shoot, and kill things while not getting killed by boss. Other than that, this dungeon is not too bad. A little bit lengthy, easy, but my god, lock set. And for the #1 spot, I think we all saw this coming. It was Vesper's host. Let's go through it together. The entrance is whatever. The first encounter can be a bit lengthy, but not too bad. The transition, I think it's a bit unnecessary. It's a bit lengthy and it's fun still, but it's a little bit of a recap of what we just did for a mechanic we don't do for the rest of the dungeon. Well, I guess kind of. We do it at the boss, but you know. Ranix is a tank now though. Ever since his changes came out, he feels horrible to DPS, and the micromanaging of living, numbers, suppressor and operator buffs, it's kind of a lot to deal with. That is without mentioning the exploder shanks too, because once you get teleported up top, all hell breaks loose. You need a literal system to know how to kill them, and if you don't have one dead, probably you're going to be the one to die. So after Phoenix is a long traversal, but honestly, I like how it shows you the lightning correlating to the final boss. And speaking of the final boss, what the fuck? Imagine this as a solo flawless, living, suppressor, killing the clones, scanning and remembering the number, operator, and shooting all the hidden buttons while still living and managing where you deposit the buffs. The first room alone is a lot to worry about, but then we have this red room. The red room has no cover. You have to run around, take operator, deposit, grab scanner again. This room is a boss fight itself, to be honest. Blue room is whatever, but red room is lethal. I literally had to memorize what deposit station above led to what in the red room just to get a good run going. And it was still hell for me. Not even done yet though. Go through the tube and finally fight the boss, but he has 4 clones, 2 of which shoot you, 2 of which chase you, and you have minimal cover. While doing this, you also have the lightning that one-shots you no matter what and is always chasing you. So unless you go to a cheese spot and pray you succeed in it, the boss in lightning is absolute hell and agony. I was a Giga Chad, I ran through it like a G, call me Andrew Tate, but it is still super challenging and probably the longest I've ever spent learning one encounter in Destiny. Anyway, that's enough of my Vespers rant. I would like to quickly thank all my members who support me, including DeeJayLegacy as the only MAFIA manager member. If you'd like to support me even further, you can join the channel memberships using the button below next to the subscribe button. It really helps a lot. I'd really appreciate it. Special shout outs to you guys. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe if you did enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.